Thanks to, in no small part, Salah and Haaland, and a bit of luck, I'm up to 111k overall at the moment in FPL. And with the international break finally over, here is my team selection for Game Week 4. Now, I thought I'd start the video just by quickly going through how my team got on in Game Week 3 and looking basically position by position as to how I'm going to line up in Game Week 4. So, Game Week 3, pretty good. 87 points up to, like I said, 111k overall, thanks to, in no small part, Salah and Haaland, both with 17 pointers, Haaland being my captain. And I triple captained Haaland, by the way, in Game Week 2. So if you're new to the channel wondering how I've gotten up to 111k, that's why basically I used my triple captain on Haaland in Game Week 2. Dean Henderson in goal, 4-pointer, very happy with that. Robinson, not necessarily keeping clean sheets, but doing pretty well for attacking returns. Guardiola and Colwill both blanking. Not too sure about these two. We'll get onto them in a second. I actually had to start Harry Winks this week because I had Solanke and Lewis Hall, who I didn't believe would start. So I had to go for Winks. Got a 1-pointer, unfortunately, with that yellow card. Gordon with a blank, another player that could potentially be getting rid of. Eze rewarding me finally with a goal against Chelsea and a 10-pointer. Covered Salah. Smith Rowe with a blank, but at his price, I can take a few blanks here and there. Isak again, similar to Eze, rewarding me with my patience with a goal. And Erling Haaland, hat-trick against West Ham as my captain. My bench, pretty low to be honest. I mean, Solanke didn't play, Johnson didn't play, and Lewis Hall with a 1-pointer. So what we're going to do now is go position by position, talk about my team, how they're looking for Game Week 4, and some potential transfers I could be making. Now, what I will say, and apologies if a lot of my, well, some of my content at least is looking a bit samey, but the reason it is because the players that I'm recommending in my videos to buy are naturally the players that I want to buy for myself. So when you look at some of the players that I'm considering this week, if you've watched a lot of my content already, I'm going to be wanting to buy the players that I've been recommending. So spoiler alert, you could probably guess some of the players. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you can probably guess some of the players that I'm eyeing up, right? But the whole idea with this team selection series, and I know all the other FPL content creators make team selection videos as well. I'm not a pioneer in that regard at all. But it's to follow my journey throughout the FPL season, you know, how my team's getting on, my decision-making behind my transfers, etc., etc. So yes, a lot of the players I'm recommending here will be similar to what I've suggested in other videos, but hopefully you can understand that, right? I'm recommending players that I want to buy myself. It's honest. That's how I want to play the game. Anyway, I'll stop monologuing now. I'm happy with Henderson in goal. He's got Leicester at home, 3.9 expected points. I looked at all the other 4.5 million goalkeepers in the game, right? I'd say Flecken and Henderson for me are my outstanding two. Flecken purely because of the fixtures he's got from Game Week 6. But genuinely, I'm very happy with Henderson. I don't see a real need to get rid of him. I know a lot of owners are not too happy with how he's gotten on so far, but there will be clean sheets coming. Got Say's bonus, of course, against Chelsea. I'm quite happy with him. I'm going to leave him in. My three defenders then, Guardiola, Anthony Robinson, and Colwill. And then you can see there I've got Bentley on my bench. Don't really care about him. Hall, a little bit unsure about him at 4.5. And Ben Johnson of Ipswich, who doesn't appear to actually be first choice. Well, he is first choice when they play 5 at the back, but they don't necessarily play 5 at the back with him at right wing back every game. So that's something to bear in mind with him as well. Ultimately, though, with the 2 free transfers and nothing I have in the bank, I don't think I can justify using a transfer on my bench players. The one player I'm looking at in this team that I don't want to see in their long term, based on what we've seen so far, is probably Guardiola. When he has played for Man City in the same team as Rico Lewis, it's been Rico Lewis he is the fullback that's been doing all the attacking, whereas Guardiola sat right back and been on the left side of the 3 centre-halves. So I've not been too impressed with Guardiola so far, and I've not been too impressed with Man City defensively either. They seem to have followed a trend that they did last season, conceding a low amount of XG, but still letting goals in. So he's not getting clean sheet points, and he's also not getting attacking return points. And for 6 million as a defender, I do want a little bit more from Guardiola than what I'm getting. The question is, though, yes, I don't like him as an option long term, but he's got Brentford at home coming up, which is a good fixture. Like, selling Guardiola ahead of Brentford at home feels like a bit of a luxury transfer. The player I would consider, surprise, surprise, I've spoken about him in loads of videos, is Andy Robertson. I'm not going to go through massive detail because I've already spoken about Robertson enough. I don't have anything in the bank. I do think Trent is a better option than Robertson, but with my current like budgetary position, I can't afford Trent, so I have to go for Robertson. And I'm not too upset with that, right? 3 clean sheets in 3 games. Expected points are looking good. We all know how good he is from an attacking perspective. Takes corners. The expected points, according to Fantasy Football Hub, are actually better than Trent's for the next few game weeks. Just go back to the defence, though. Yes, I do want to bring in Robertson at some point, right? And it probably will be in game week 5. When Guardiola plays Arsenal and Robertson has Bournemouth at home, that's probably the time that I do it. But looking at the expected points algorithm and just in my mind, the likelihood of keeping clean sheets, getting attacking returns, etc. I don't see a whole lot, I don't think. I pause there to think. I don't see a great deal between Guardiola and Robertson this week, particularly enough to make a transfer. So, yes, I'm considering bringing in Robertson, but I don't think game week 4 is necessarily the time to do it. It's kind of a similar story with my midfield, basically. Salah, Eze, Smith Rowe and Gordon as the 4 that I'm going to start this week. I'm largely happy with these guys going into game week 4. I'm not necessarily long-term happy with Anthony Gordon, but with Wolves away being his fixture, who have just lost Mascara to an international break injury, looked like he was stretchered off. That's going to be, I think, a bit of a big problem. They lost Max Kilman during the summer, obviously, to West Ham as well. I think they're not a completely different outfit, but they are looking a lot weaker than they were last season. So I wouldn't rule out Gordon and Newcastle doing well against Wolves. But I just have not been all that impressed by Newcastle, particularly Gordon so far this season. With Harvey Barnes playing as well as he has at left wing, I think that's stopping Gordon playing in that position himself and therefore negating just some of his attacking upside, basically. He did look really good for England, though, to be fair, in those couple of games he did play. But I think long-term, Anthony Gordon is the one that I'm not a massive fan of in this midfield. Salah, Eze and Smith Rowe, I'm very happy to keep. Morgan Rogers is the one that I'm kind of missing out on at the moment. Maybe transferring Winks to Morgan Rogers might be something I do further down the line if I have enough budget available. I'm really happy with Smith Rowe at that price. He's not going to score every week, but he's had a couple more weeks to get to sort of match fitness over the international break. He's obviously scored 1 goal in the 3 games that he's played so far. I think that's a pretty standard level of returns for a player of that price point. West Ham at home coming up. I think there's a decent chance that he could get an attacking return there. So it is Anthony Gordon, the one that I'm kind of eyeing up, maybe replacing. And the player I would replace him with, I think, has got to be Brian Mbeumo. But it's a similar situation to Guardiola and Robertson that I discussed in my defence. So long term, yes, I will look to do Gordon to Mbeumo. But is game week 4 really the time to do it? Looking back to the fixtures, Gordon has 5 expected points according to Fantasy Football Hub. By the way, check out Fantasy Football Hub in the description below if you want to see all this data for yourself. I get you 50% off. Gordon's got Wolves away, and we just go back to Mbeumo. He's got Man City away. So, like I said, I think Mbeumo's a better option than Gordon. He's on penalties, free kicks, 90 minutes, 3 returns from 3 games so far. Much better than Gordon's managed. But he's got one of the trickiest fixtures you could possibly ask for, whereas Gordon has one of the easiest. So I don't think I will necessarily make the move this week. But I do think long-term that's the right move to make. And from game week 5, 6 onwards, the fixtures for Brentford are just amazing. So they got Tottenham away. I would definitely, wouldn't rule out a goal in that game. Then West Ham, Wolves, Man United away, Ipswich at home, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, Everton away. I mean, the fixtures are just crazy. So I do think I'm eyeing up that transfer. But is game week 4 the best time to do it? Probably not. So right now, I don't think I'm going to make a move in my defence. And I think I'm going to keep my midfield as it is as well. So then we're left with the strikers. Solanke is still in my team at the moment. I've remained patient and I haven't used a transfer to take him out. And I think I'm going to be rewarded here. He's got Arsenal at home and we should find out from Ange Postecoglou in his press conference this week if he's fit to go. And I think if Solanke is fit, he is a really nice differential. A lot of managers, engaged managers especially, would have sold him at this point. The likes of João Pedro, Wissa, someone like that. But I've kept him because I just couldn't justify getting rid of him. It was game week 3 where I really had the decision to make. And I was just thinking, well, it's the international break coming up. There's a risk that the player I bring in could be off on international duty and get injured. That's why I kind of started Harry Winks. And also, I've picked Solanke for a reason, right? At the start of the season, I believed he was going to have a good season with Tottenham, right? He's playing so last season, for Bournemouth, he scored 19 Premier League goals for Bournemouth. He's now moved to Tottenham, who I don't think you can deny are a better attacking outfit than Bournemouth are, which means surely, even if he doesn't take penalties, which I think Son will remain on for Spurs, he's going to be at least the same, if not better. And 19 goals a season for 7.5 million, I think is really good value. So I picked him for a reason. And, you know, he is an injury doubt. We'll find out in the press conference if he's fit and ready to go. I think if he is fit to go, he'll play, because it looks like Richarlison is also a doubt as well. And then you've got the fixture, Arsenal at home. On the face of it, Arsenal is obviously, well, based on last season, the toughest defence in the league and a really difficult fixture. But they're missing two really key players, Declan Rice being suspended and Martin Odegaard picking up an injury during international break. And it's the North London derby. Tottenham are the home team. I feel like there's going to be goals in this game. And if there are goals in the game, I do think Solanke will be some way involved. And then fixtures beyond that are looking pretty decent for Spurs. And like I said, I picked Solanke for a reason at the start of the season. And that reason still stands in my mind. I think he's missed 2 or 3 games in the last 3 seasons from injury. So it's just really unlucky that he got injured at the start of this season. So I'll stop monologuing about him now. If he's fit and ready to go, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to stick with Solanke. I think he's a great option. I've picked him for a reason. And I'm happy to have him as a little bit of a differential now against Arsenal and subsequent fixtures. Other 2 strikers, Erling Haaland, I mean, no justification to sell him, right? He's been absolutely brilliant. And looking at the expected points, according to Fantasy Football Hub at least, he's the best captain for Game Week 4. I'll look in a bit more detail in terms of expected points algorithms and captaincies going on in a second. And then Isak, I'm quite happy to hold on to Isak, and I actually think he's a step above Gordon in terms of how happy I am to keep him. With him just being on penalties for Newcastle, it just adds so many strings to his bow, right? He can just score in any game. Whereas Gordon, if Newcastle aren't playing well, he's not really going to do anything. So I'm really happy to keep hold of Isak. I still think he's going to do really well this season. So yeah, no movement there. I guess the big question is on Solanke. And the player that I would consider bringing in for Solanke, again, you're going to be bored of me if you've watched some of my videos this week, but I do think Wissa is probably the best replacement for Solanke. I don't necessarily think Game Week 5 is the time to do that, though, because again, when I spoke about Mbumo, he's got Man City away. Obviously, Wissa plays for Brentford. They both have Man City away. So is it the best time to bring him in? Probably not. And I should probably just hedge my bets that Solanke either plays or gets some minutes against Arsenal rather than bringing in Wissa. And then maybe in the future, just looking at the way my team is set up in terms of budget, dropping Gordon to Mbumo, dropping Solanke to Wissa, and would actually allow me to do Guardiola to Trent as well, but also just free up a little bit of cash in other places of my team to potentially make upgrades. I'm looking, for example, at Lewis Hall here. I'm not particularly happy with Colwill, who I'm not particularly happy with either. Making those moves could free up some budget. But Wissa, as I said, I mean, got the same fixtures as Mbumo does, so they're great from Game Week 5 onwards. And I would actually say I do think Mbumo is my favourite Brentford player. But from open play, with obviously Mbumo being on free kicks and pens, from open play, Wissa's numbers are actually better. They're also better than João Pedro's. And I would say naturally Wissa's best competition in FPL right now is João Pedro. And I haven't had João Pedro so far, and I'm 111k overall. So I think it shows you can go without him, right? Let's go back to this screen. So the question I would ask is, well, the thing that I'm thinking of is I'm quite happy to continue hedging against João Pedro. And I do think with the fixture run he's got coming up compared to Pedro's, and also his minutes compared to Pedro's, I think Wissa is going to prove to be a better long-term option. I don't know why I clicked away from the Wissa screen there. So a potential transfer I could make, particularly if he gets re-injured or is just not looking fit or on form, etc., is Solanke to Wissa. But I've got to say, looking at this 11 right now, I'm hard-pressed to really think of a definite transfer I need to make. Yes, there are some that are creeping out to me that could be good moves, but they all feel a little bit luxury. Like, if I went into this game week with this team, I think it's just absolutely fine. I think my defence has reasonable chances for clean sheets and attacking returns. My midfield is looking strong. And if Solanke is fit and ready to go, I think I've got quite a nice forward line as well. So on the whole, I think I'm pretty happy with this team, but let me know in the comments if you think I need to make any transfers. I just wanted to look at a couple expected points algorithms that I use to help me decide upon who is the best captain. We saw when looking through the expected points for my players there, Haaland and Salah are the 2 top players for expected points, and Haaland takes the lead in terms of Fantasy Football Hub predicted points. Looking at Drafthound here, Haaland is in the lead. 10.6 is one of the highest expected points figures I've ever seen for a single game week. It's crazy. Salah on 9.4. So for me, it's quite clear that Haaland is the best captain. But if I didn't have Haaland, just maybe it's your case where you've got no Haaland, I wouldn't be too concerned about captaining Salah. There's only basically 1 point in it there. FPL review has the 2 players top again. Haaland 8.1, Salah 7.1. Again, only 1 point in it, not too much. If you only had Salah, wouldn't be too worried about captaining him. But if I had both, I would captain Haaland. So for me, it's pretty clear. This is how I'm going to line up for Game Week 4. I don't see a real need to make any transfers at the moment. With 3 free transfers for Game Week 5, I think I can do a lot more with my team. I can basically, 3 free transfers in my mind is basically a little mini wild card, and I can really change up some of these players. I can get rid of Guardiola, potentially get rid of Solanke, get rid of Gordon, etc, etc. I could really make some positive changes to my team with 3 moves. Probably more effective than I could with 2 free transfers as well. And obviously Haaland is going to get the captaincy. So the expected points for this team for Game Week 4, 67.1 according to Fantasy Football Hub. Again, if you want to see this kind of data for yourself with your own team, you can sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. There's a link in the description and I get you 50% off and it gets an 89% AI rating. The one thing I would say is that rating in points figures, expected points figures, is being held back by Solanke. The Fantasy Football Hub algorithm has him as an injury doubt right now, which is true, right? We haven't heard from Ange in a press conference yet if he's definitely fit and ready to go. If he is, I expect that points total to go up to sort of 4 to 5, something like that, similar to what sort of Smith Rowe, Gordon are on. That would be my prediction. And that would push me up into the sort of 70 expected points and probably into the 90s in terms of AI rating. And that's kind of what I'm hedging on, really. I think the couple of weeks, well, he would have had 3 or 4 weeks of no football now to recover from that injury and get back to full fitness. And considering when he got injured, he played the remainder of the game in the game week that he got injured, I don't think it's all that serious. And surely 3 or 4 weeks is going to be enough time to completely recover and be ready to go. So that's just my opinion on Solanke. I'm happy to keep him. I'm happy with this team. I'm happy to roll my transfer. All right, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that. Found it useful to get sort of my thoughts and my views on my team selection. Like I said, I know a lot of players that I'm talking about in this video are basically repeats of some of the content I've made of players that I'm recommending. But, I mean, it's only natural, right? The players that I want to buy for my team are the players that I'm recommending you guys buy. That's kind of how it works, right? So, yeah, I'm conscious that some of this content is repeating other stuff I've made. And I've had a few comments about that, but hopefully you can see my mindset behind it. I just want you guys to follow my journey with my team in my team selection. I won't get hung up on it too much more, but I appreciate the kind of constructive feedback I've had about that over the international break, and I'm trying to take it on board. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments what you think of my team, and yeah, if there's any changes you'd make to it. And if you enjoyed the video and want to see more from me and you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to the Goal to Goal channel. It should be just there on your screen. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video.